Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Crime Centric. This big show where I talk about crime dramas that I watch. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the latest episode of The Blacklist. A lot of interesting things went down in this episode. For one, well, let's start off with the Moore situation. I guess I shouldn't be too surprised with the whole, him killing himself thing. I guess that's just kind of like he lost and he didn't want to spend the rest of his life in prison type of thing. Because obviously he was trying to worm his way out of it because it's kind of like, oh, I hope you find Samar, you let me go. But Haran, being who he is, being in love with Samar, he's willing to do whatever it takes. And obviously, he didn't bother looking into the little book because he's like, I don't care. So, he got the information they needed, but Moore ended up dying. I don't know if he'll actually suffer any ramifications for that. It doesn't seem like that'll necessarily be the case, but who knows? Cooper might still have to throw the book at him, because, a suspect died in their custody because of Aram giving him the book and everything. But still, there's a lot of stuff to kind of break down. Let's focus on the main dude, Lawrence. It's kind of interesting, his whole thing. I was wondering, why did he take Samar? And I guess it's because he's like, I don't kill a lot of people, but when I do, for him, it's very he doesn't believe in God, he believes in nature. And he's he does these experiments on people to see just how, different things affect decomposition and stuff like that. He's a weird dude. You even see him taking a hand and giving it to a mice to eat. Because basically that's his thing. He makes bodies disappear, so. It started off with his weird little experiments thing, and then it eventually turned into just purely working for people to disappear bodies. So I guess that's why he did what he did. I was like, did someone else hire you to do that? Why are you doing this? No, he took Samar for personal reasons, just because it's she needs to be disposed of, and people hire me to dispose of. She was a complication, and it's not like they necessarily asked him to do that. It was just kind of no, it's my concern. So I guess he took this disposal upon himself because it's I have my own, you hired me to retrieve someone, I did, and I got someone else along the way. It's the whole nature thing, and it's just I'm gonna give you this, almost like he's glamorizing it, almost being I'm gonna give you a beautiful death. It's kind of interesting because in the long run, it kind of screwed him over. I was kind of thinking he was going to die because he didn't move for such a long time after Samar stabbed him in the car crash and everything. Shitty turn of events with the tire iron stabbing her like that. I guess that's interesting. But he woke up because of Aram calling his phone, and he almost got away. But it's I guess it's kind of interesting. I didn't even think about it at the time. I was oh, it's karma got him back. But it's no, it's kind of like nature. He how all that talk about nature, and then a bear comes up and kills him. Didn't see that coming. I was wow, that's poetic in its own twisted way. It didn't help Samar because the bear ended up making the van, because that was kind of what confused. I was I thought I could have sworn the bits of the preview I sadly ended up catching. I was I thought the van was underwater. It's oh, it is, because the bear knocks it down. I was okay. So Samar's kind of running out of time and everything. And I love what she said about when she called Haram, was able to kind of get in contact with Haram. It's if you had actually proposed to me, I would have married you. I would have said yes. Because for her, it's just it's because he didn't. Because she didn't jump to the conclusion that it was, a wedding ring. Because she's I know it's not. Because if it was, you would have asked me to marry you. But at the time, he was kind of so caught up in everything, Liz was saying, or Donald was saying, that he was oh, the fact that she didn't have the immediate reaction to oh yeah, you're proposing to me, then that means if she didn't have that immediate reaction, that means she didn't even have it in the back of her mind. It's no, because she knew it was a gift, and she knows if you wanted to marry her, you would have proposed immediately. Which the sad situation is that just led things to being where they are. Luckily Haram was able to get to her, but she was deprived of oxygen for a good amount of time. So from where the episode leaves us, she is still unconscious, which sucks. But you do have that sweet moment at the end where Aram proposes to her, puts the ring on her finger and everything, and he's smiling, and it's just, I don't know, it's sad and beautiful. You hope Samara pulls through. I'm betting everything she will, because it would just suck for their story to kind of end up this way. But we'll just kind of have to wait and see. We don't know, because there might also be long-term effects from what happened to her. Obviously, she was deprived of oxygen for a long time, so we don't know what that might necessarily mean for Samara going forward. So what's also interesting too is Reddington brought in his torture guy. I'm curious, would Cooper have really let things kind of go down the way Red was kind of suggesting they would? They're not all for torture and stuff like that, but it's because it is Samar, where they have made exceptions. It's also involved in animal too, which even Reddington's oh, look at it, it's so cute and everything, but it is quite the devil itself. Kind of talking about the fact is it has had movie roles and stuff like that. It was just kind of interesting. But I also love this conversation because it eventually came up about Mr. Kaplan, and when they talked about the dude Julius, they ended up getting Lawrence's name from Julius being like, Red being like, oh yeah, that's an associate of mine, and I got to know about after Mr. Kaplan passed away, and Liz is like, she didn't pass away, she killed herself to get me that duffel bag. And it's like, hey, if you want to honor her final request, how about you give me the damn duffel bag? And Red doesn't really give her a response to that. And it's like, it is kind of interesting how he did phrase it that way. But that's kind of Liz's thing of just kind of slapping him with the truth. Like, don't try to sugarcoat things. This is what it is. Like, we wouldn't be where we are right now if you weren't trying so hard to hide this truth from me. But it's something, once again, Reddington keeps pointing out, it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with me. It's my business. And I think that is certainly true. Like, I think it won't be, like I said, if it goes with the theory that I've kind of thrown up before about Reddington not really being Reddington, then technically it wouldn't be her business because Reddington would still be her dad. He just wouldn't be Reddington. So we'll see. Because Reddington ends up finding out that there's an auction being held, and that's the same place that Ian had went to because Smokey's gathering info for him. Liz actually got pissed because she's like, you're literally leaving while Samar still hasn't been brought back. It's like, oh, no, my thoughts and prayers are with you. But it's like, oh, you don't need it. I can't really prove anymore. And she's like, you go, yeah, of course you go now when I can't follow you. He's like, oh, really? Well, so. Because I do love, because Red is kind of, like, I feel like he's never, like, laid the ground down, like, laid down the law as much as he has so far this season, because Liz is like, oh, I'll go with you. He's like, I guess because me bringing in my torture dude kind of makes you think things have changed. It's like, no, this is my business. This is my associate, so I'll be the one dealing with it. But Cooper made Liz go anyway, much to Red's chagrin, but obviously she waited outside. But it's just interesting because even like, oh yeah, so you do with the whole Samar thing, so where can we drop you off? I'm gonna go, deal with this whole duffel bag situation. I even love him walking up to that dude. It's like, did they say that, steroids shrink your penis? Is that true? And the dude just kind of looks at him. He's just kind of ready to just go, okay. And I also told him about the fact is you have a thicker neck. You're more of an idiot and stuff like that. I wonder is that the guard he kind of got friendly with later on when Reddington kind of brings it up, or was it the other guard? I even love Reddington trying to use his criminal position to be like, excuse me, your boss Gonzalez won't meet with me. I'm literally number one on the FBI's most wanted list. It's kind of like, yeah, but number two, the former number one, is his driver. He's like, you're kidding, right? It's like, actually, no, I'm like, Mr. Gonzalez doesn't really joke. It's like, wow. I love that Reddington had to do that. He's like, I have to pull, don't you know who I am? I'm number one on the FBI's most wanted list, and you don't want to meet with me? My name isn't good enough for you? It's almost like, do you know who I am? One of those moments, and I feel like Reddington doesn't really have those. I mean, usually he introduces himself, but that's enough to be like, oh, Reddington, oh, Raymond Reddington. It's enough to kind of open doors. This time it didn't. It took him shooting people to kind of get Gonzalez's attention. Because he did ask them, because apparently the item they were betting on, it was something that Denbei was talking about. It's an item that is like, it's kind of like sacrilegious to like be selling it. It's something that should, I think, either be destroyed, but not used for, because the money that they're paying for it will be used to fund like terrorism in the Middle East is what he was kind of getting at. Because that's like, as a Muslim, it's like that item could have so much more. Its value isn't to be just sold as an item like this. It's like blasphemy, essentially. And then, like, I guess Reddington, when he was asking those people before he shot them in the leg, obviously it was to draw Gonzalez's attention. But I wondered, because he was asking, he's like, oh, do you have a problem with the fact that this is, like, funding terrorism? I guess he picked those people because it's like, oh, you don't care? So, okay, I don't have to feel bad about you just being people here collecting art. You just come to a very shady dude to get like that. It's like, oh, the fact of the matter is you're all shady people because you don't care. This is funding terrorism, so pow, pow. Because it's like, okay, you're kind of terrible, shitty people anyway, so it's fine. Turns out, Ian didn't actually come to meet Gonzalez, which is interesting. He met some dude named Max, which Reddington knows this dude, which it's like, okay, that's how Garvey knows him, because this dude was in witness protection. He's supposed to be dead, at least that's kind of the word around, but it turns out he's still alive. So it's like, how does Reddington know this guy? I guess it would also make sense because, like, we know Garvey found out some stuff about that he was going to tell Jennifer. I was blinking. I was thinking Lily. I just couldn't remember her real name. Jennifer. Like some stuff he was going to tell her about like her not hiding for these past 30 years for nothing. So this dude is an enemy too, because Reddington's kind of upset about it, because it's like one enemy had it, now another enemy has it. And the question still comes up again. Why not expose him? It's like, why are people sitting on this information? It's like, I don't get why. Are they trying to manipulate Reddington into doing something they need from him in the future? Do they know someone who would value this a lot more? Because I think I feel like it would be that situation of, because you do have this information, Reddington's going to bend over backwards for it. So you kind of have him in the palm of your hand type of thing. Maybe that's it. Or maybe there's no proper way to utilize this yet. I feel like, if it turns out to be what I'm thinking it is, like I said, the whole him not being Reddington thing, I guess it could undermine his entire everything he does, which could basically do what Kaplan wanted, and for it to destroy everything he's built up, his criminal enterprise and everything. And maybe that's more of the reason why she wants Liz to know the truth, that you're working with a guy claiming to be someone who he really isn't. Maybe, kind of making sure that his empire stays dead, because once the truth comes out, wonders about where the real Raymond Reddington, who he was, and it's stuff like that makes me wonder. I don't know. Like I said, last week's episode kind of made me feel like maybe that's not necessarily the case, but like I said, I'm still running with that theory in my head until they go 100% like, no, Michael, you're an idiot. It's not that, it's this. Once they do that, then I'll be like, okay, I was completely wrong. So, but I do love what this episode also sets up in that regard too, because it's like, now it comes down to it. Liz versus Red again, and it's for who gets the duffel bag. I even love that moment of Red being like, "Oh, I could offer like, you a ride back," because it's like, hey, a little peace before, a little calm before the storm. He's like, I would offer that, but he's like, I'm not going to, because for Red, I guess it's like the competition is already heated up. It's like, so which one of us is going to reach the finish line first? Who's going to find the body first? My money's kind of on Liz. I think Reddington wants to get, obviously he's going to want it, but I think Liz might pull things out from me, because it's kind of interesting, because you have Red being like, you constantly defy me. You keep doing what I tell you not to do, even going as far as following him there. So what was interesting was him being like, I'm so disappointed in you. He's like, and yet at the same time, I'm so proud of her persistence. And so, because I think he likes that so much about her. And she's like, I guess it runs in the family. It's like, yeah, I guess it does, So it's definitely going to be interesting. Like, I feel like we've never seen them be at this, like they're at odds, like not really odds, but still on opposite ends of this thing, because each one wants it for themselves. So we are that much closer to figuring out this whole mystery behind his body. So, because it might not just be the secrets it holds in that regard. There's also the whole situation about, like I said, who this Max guy really is. Because I'm pretty sure Reddington said his name, but I kept missing it every time he said it. But even then, he still never really explained who this guy was, aside from the whole like, oh yeah, like someone that was supposed to be dead, and once again, an enemy. So, not unless he's a dude, the reason why he's an enemy is because not unless he's someone from the past who knows who Reddington really is. He's like, oh, like, he's like, that might be why Garvey gave him the bag, because it's like, he might be someone that like knew the real Raymond Reddington, and could identify him and being like, wait, you're not ready. He might be one of the few people like to be able to prove it or something like that. Or maybe, like I said, he just knew who this guy pretending to be Reddington really is. That, like I said, those are my thoughts. So we'll ultimately have to wait and see. Next week's episode is, in fact, the season finale. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out. I'm so excited to see, like I said, who gets to it first. Also, the whole Samara situation. Maybe we'll kind of get some updates about her situation next episode. Hopefully things will be much better. Because it is a situation that even Russell was saying even the doctors are not 100% sure if she'd be 100% okay after, just like I was bringing up earlier. So, like I said, bittersweet ending to the episode, along with everything that's kind of being set up. So, like I said, we'll just have to wait and see what the next episode has in store for us. But really, that's all I want to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.